2018 Raptor is the second generation of this truck, which is now fast becoming an off-road icon. There's some new stuff on this, but basically this is still the truck that's all about eating up the desert, even though here it's more about getting muddy. And frankly, this thing looks good dirty.
We haven't got canyons and rocks, but we can definitely go ditch banging in summer. Even in midair, it's still got good grip.
One of the amazing things about the Raptor, when you're talking about off-road, is the speeds that you can hit with this truck. There's lots of stuff out there that you can get into some really, really gnarly off-road situations, but you're just dinking along. The Raptor runs at speeds, frankly, that will scare you stiff. And it's still not done. It still wants to do more. Now, there's another reason why it works really well as a desert racer, because of how wide it is. It's really wide, and never more so than on a forested trail where everything seems to be hanging in from the sides. That's when you realize that this is not a small truck. And that's why they call it a desert racer, because you want to take it someplace where it's open and wide and there aren't any trees, which is kind of a drawback depending upon where you live. However, when you do get on to anything which is potted and rutted and working the suspension, the truck is unbelievably stable, incredibly controlled. You never ever feel like it's going to go out on you. And even with all the nannies off, your sense of control is still thorough.
We're towing our 4-place snowmobile trailer. Now, fully loaded, our trailer weighs about 5,000 pounds. And traveling down the road, this truck really didn't struggle too hard pulling that load, considering its rating is at 8,000. With this Fox suspension system, you feel everything in the back end. The spring rate is set up to take bumps and jump and go fast, not to have that much weight on the back end. Every little bump in the road, dip, dive, the back end of this truck is moving. The trailer is constantly making the truck work. It's dipping, it's diving, it's a little left, it's a little right. You're constantly on the steering wheel. I mean, on the flip side of that, at no point was it throwing the truck around. The truck was plenty powerful and heavy enough to move the trailer safely, but you had to be consciously looking ahead, preparing for turns, hills, braking, watching traffic, because there was no way you wanted to get into a situation where you really had to make an emergency maneuver, because that could have got a little hairy. Now, the terrain we were on this morning wasn't anything too crazy. We had a couple of 12%, 9% grades, maybe about half a kilometer to a kilometer long. Nothing insane. Up the hills, plenty of power. Coming down the hills, the braking system in this truck, while fantastic for off-road, fantastic for running quickly, you're making it work. It felt a little bit spongy, and I'd be worried about brake fade on longer, heavier trips. Now, the trailer we were towing didn't have, or had very little trailer braking, so if you're into towing something consistently that has a lot of weight behind you, you're definitely going to want to make sure that system's working correctly. And now we've got some fun Ford Raptor math for you. Now, let's face it, you don't buy this truck to haul every day, and Ford has not left you a large margin in which to tow your trailers. But here are the numbers. You can tow 8,000 pounds, and you can put 1,200 pounds in the bed. Now, let's assume that you've loaded your trailer to the max, 8,000. That leaves you with an 800-pound tongue weight, which leaves you with only 400 pounds that you can put in or on the truck. So, that's 2 adults, or, 2 skinny adults and 2 children, or 2 guys and a bunch of gear for whatever they're hauling, or me and the 3 skinny women that I date in my head, or maybe me after a steak dinner. It really doesn't leave you a lot of room to play with. So in its overall design, Ford doesn't leave you a large window to accommodate for towing and payload together. So there is lots of power here, but it isn't exactly immediate. You do definitely feel the turbo lag off the line. And you know what? Ford thought of that, and that's why they give you Baja Mode. So this truck has a bunch of different drive modes: sport mode, regular mode, mud crawl mode, but it also has Baja Mode. And Baja Mode is for when you're going fast off-road. And the coolest thing it does, it actually feeds more air into the engine to keep the turbos spool. So even as your RPMs fall, those turbos stay spinning and absolutely eliminate the lag. So if you do want to get rid of it, you can. It just makes your throttle tip in super aggressive. You probably wouldn't want it on road, but damn is it quick when you get it off. And finally, this truck has a new 10-speed automatic transmission, and so far I haven't found a situation where it hasn't been good. At high speed, it bangs off shifts. When trailering, it always knew where it wanted to be. And the most important part about it, it's not sequential. So if you're cruising in 10th on the highway and punch the gas, it drops right into 5th and boom, you take off, you got all that torque. The engineers at Ford did a good job of mapping the brain out so it just knows where to put the transmission when you want it. With the off-road aftermarket, you can spend an unlimited amount of time and money and build yourself an amazing rig. But not everyone wants to do that. So if you want to walk into a dealership, get a warranty, and come away with what is probably the most capable off-road truck on the road right now, you just can't beat the Ford Raptor.